What's up, everybody? Welcome to Perhaps. It's Lent. It's actually Ash Wednesday that I'm recording this. That's why I have this cross of dust on my forehead. I think it just looks like a dot now. I think a lot of it is wiped off, but I mean, it also didn't look like much of a cross when they did it. That's like kind of the joke of Ash Wednesday of like comparing to your friends who also got ash crosses. How much of a smudge does it really look like? But I'm excited for this Lent because it's funny to say I'm excited for Lent, and it's kind of strange to tell someone happy Lent because Lent is usually a very somber season. I mean, it's even like very dark and gloomy and rainy outside. It fits. And I'm dressed in all black, by the way, for Lent. Oh, I even painted my nails black. I go all in, people. You should know that about me by now. But the reason I'm excited, really, is because I want to talk about some of the themes that Lent makes me think of for the rest of this Lent. Lent is this 40-day, I think it's like 45, I don't know, 40-day season. Like that's what we say, 40 days of Lent. But I think the Sundays are out. I don't know. Doesn't matter. 40 days of Lent until Good Friday and then Easter. So that's coming next month, and we're going to rock it. I have a lot of cool stuff planned. And it's funny. It's all like somber-ish, but I want to talk about some of the hope we can find in these seasons where we're able to be in touch more with our more somber emotions. And so I'm excited. Today we're talking about the fact that you are gonna die someday. It's just real. And that's a big part of Lent is remembering your mortality. Simply remembering that you're gonna die. And that's part of the whole like Ash Wednesday thing, by the way. I look at this. I for real went. I got the bulletin right here. I went to a local Episcopal church, which I used to go a lot more years ago, and now every now and then I'll go, but I hadn't been there a long time. Was running late, but I had to get in there this morning for Ash Wednesday to get my ashes because I wanted to talk about this stuff. And so the Episcopal Church, by the way, some of you may have seen me with this cross on my forehead and immediately thought, oh, Damon's Catholic. I didn't know. No, I'm not Catholic. And yeah, for those that don't know, a lot of Christian denominations do Ash Wednesday. It's just the evangelical denominations that usually don't. And you also usually don't do Lent or a lot of liturgical church seasons in general. But Episcopalians do it, Lutherans do it, Methodists do it, as well as Catholics. And so, I mean, yeah, Catholics are cool, but I'm definitely not a Catholic. I'm like one of those people that Catholics see and make them wish that they could go back to Vatican II, and they didn't even want to go back to Vatican II before that. It's like, oh, this guy's the problem with the church type stuff. I literally wrote a book, it's behind me, called The God Who Riots, Taking Back the Radical Jesus. And so the Episcopalian homies I vibe with a lot more. They're all about the radical Jesus. Well, a lot of them are. And so yeah, this is a cool little church that I vibe with every now and then. And I had to go in, had to get the ashes. We had to go through this bulletin's filled with prayers and things you all repeat and say together throughout the service so you could follow along. But really, like the blessing of the ashes, the blessing of ashes, check this out. This is what the priest read from up there. Almighty God, you have created us out of the dust of the earth. Grant that these ashes may be to us a sign of our mortality and penitence, that we may remember that it is only by your gracious gift that we are given everlasting life. Through Jesus Christ our Savior. Amen. And then they do the imposition of ashes, is what they call it. And so we come forward, and this woman who was the priest had this bowl of ashes and put her thumb in it And then she crosses your forehead and says, "Remember that you are dust, and to dust you shall return." And then you go sit back down. And then we say a couple more prayers, did the Eucharist, got served Eucharist. Also, Episcopalians are down with giving people Eucharist, whether they're part of the church or not. I know in the Catholic Church you got to be confirmed and all that. I never did that. But anyway, it was a cool service. From dust you came, and to dust you shall return. It's heavy. It could be really, and for some of you, you may hear this language and it's lost its heaviness. It's like you just, oh yeah, that's churchy language. That's the thing they say on Lent. Yeah. I've heard it all before. But it's just, some of you out there who aren't familiar with this language, I want to introduce you to how cool I think some of this stuff is. And for those of you that are used to this language, I want to bring back some of what I think is cool about it and bring back especially some of that heaviness. I mean, yeah, created us out of dust. Granted these ashes may be to us a sign of our mortality. And so you're going to die. It's as simple as that. And I think what is important to remember in a season like this is the kind of life response we have to the acknowledgement that we're going to die. It's not a doom message. It's not like the sky's falling on us and you're screaming, running around, oh, we're going to die, oh no. It's a humbling message. It's a message where you can pause, take a step back out of all the mental junk that's constantly flying through your mind. I got to do this. I got to do that. I wish I was better at this. I wish I wasn't so whatever. I wish I had this. I wish that I could do that again. I wish I could be where I wish I was. I wish I could be the type of person that people would like more. I wish I could have a better job. I wish I would have gone to school earlier in my life. I wish I would have more money. I wish I would be more secure in my life and career and path. Pausing all that for a moment. Taking a deep breath. And remembering, oh yeah, I'm not going to be here forever. I'm going to die someday. And it could be any day. It could be any moment that I stop all this mess, that I go away. And so that's what I want to open y'all up to, is that moment of humility and meditation. Now let's go a little bit deeper, friends. You may see this painting behind me. It's in the video version, but if you're just listening, don't worry, I'll describe it. It's this little square painting. Let me grab it. Look at this. It says exactly what I've been saying this whole time. For the audio listeners, it's a painting of a hand, a human hand, also with black nail polish like me. And it's doing a pinky promise with a skeleton hand. Underneath it, it says, in all caps, "You're going to," underneath that, "die." And then underneath that, it says in cute cursive writing, "Someday," with a little heart at the end. And then even smaller, it says, "I promise," exclamation point. You're going to die someday. I promise. So I received this gift from an ex-girlfriend who painted it for me many years ago. Now, usually when I tell people that, the next question is, were you dating when she gave this to you? Or was this like a warning? Was this a threat, actually? Did she give this to you after you broke up as a threat? You're going to die someday. I promise. And no, it's not a threat. I promise. She did give it to me when we were dating, and it really meant a lot to me. And I loved it when she gave it to me. Oh, and it's like, for those who don't know, it's the background is this like watercolor dripping paint or pink and yellow. It's really cool looking. It's in the back of a lot of my videos and pictures. Y'all have probably seen it over the years. Let me put it back up. There you go. Had to make sure it was straight up there for the people out there who literally would not be able to watch the rest of this podcast if it wasn't straight up there. I get y'all. I feel y'all. Don't worry. I got you. And so she gave it to me because this is something that I was always saying back then when I first started to really realize my mortality. I actually had this experience that was really difficult for me. I was going through this season many years ago where I was very depressed and anxious, and I started going on this antidepressant. But my doctor said, while you're getting used to this antidepressant, here's another medicine for anxiety that you can take instead of like a daily thing that works over time. This is something you could take like in the moment, onset symptoms type thing. And I took it and I realized it was making me feel better. And so later, another day, I took a couple more, even though you're only supposed to take one every 8 hours. And then one day I was feeling especially bad. And so I took 2, but I was feeling especially bad, remember? So I was like, might as well take 3 because I took 2 before and it was fine before. This is very huge risk. Do not do this, people. Do not do this. I was not in a good state of mind. And it gets worse. I was like, might as well round it up and take 4. And I was feeling barely anything. I was all the anxiety and worry washed away because it was numbing me so much that I literally stopped being able to walk. And so I was laying on the carpet. I was the only one in the house. My family was on some sort of trip, and I remember feeling really good, like really because the anxiety was gone. And I called a friend and told her, I need your help. Like, she was at work and I was like, I can't walk. I took too much. And I ended up, I think, actually right before that call, taking 2 more. Because I was feeling good. And I thought, I want to feel good. So I took 2 more. Couldn't walk. Called her. I need your help. She came over. And this is where my memory starts to get fuzzy. Like literally the next day, it was fuzzy. I guess on her way, when she got there, I took 2 more and told her when she got there. So you're only supposed to take 1 every 8 hours. I took 8 in 1 hour. And I was just crying. Like I guess all the emotions I was numbing, just then it had an effect of just bringing them all to the surface. And I was just like telling her the things in my life that I was sad about at the time. And especially telling her about how alone I had felt at the time. And I think it was kind of hard for her to understand, but she was there for me. And then at some point I went to the bathroom and she called poison control. And they told her, get him to the hospital, get him to the ER, because if this is really dangerous, and if he falls asleep, he could potentially not wake up and stop breathing in his sleep. So he needs to go to the ER. And so I went to the ER. My friend then texted a bunch of my other friends, let them all know what was going on. And then a couple more friends ended up coming to the ER. And I think now this is like everything else I'm saying, like from the moment my friend came over to the rest of this night is a memory that was retold to me because I blacked out. That's another effect that the medicine had. And so I guess they told them to like keep me awake. So they stayed there for quite a while and were keeping me awake so I didn't stop breathing in my sleep. And I woke up the next day in my bed feeling like I dreamt it, the little bits I remembered. And then I spent the rest of the day meeting up with my friends, putting all the pieces together of what happened the night before, and was just overwhelmed with emotion. And I think the biggest emotion at the time that I was overwhelmed with was, I'm so lucky that I survived. Like it was a real feeling of I almost died. I could be dead right now. And yet I'm surrounded with some friends and they care a lot about me and they're making sure I'm okay. And that was a huge shift in my life. There was a lot of ambition I had before that. But all the ambition was like, it's like some of it was like, I can do this now, but a lot of it was also, I can do this later. One day, I wish I can do this or that. One day. And at the time, I was wanting to be a pastor. And I went through that whole journey and then eventually didn't want to be a pastor and left ministry and all that. But at the time, I was like, I can be a pastor now. I was in my very early 20s. And I was like, I can work toward that now. I don't have to wait for that to be something I do later in life. I could do that now. And I don't know how long I'm going to be here anyway. So let me take all the things I wish I could do someday and just work toward it now. Because this life is a gift. And I'm going to die. And I want to live life to the fullest before I die. And that was mixed with this gratitude for being here. And gratitude for my friends and my family and the support I had around me and for the opportunities I had and just being alive in general. And so at the time, and so it was like a few months later that I started dating this girl who made that painting for me. And she also was about it. Like she had some similar experiences and some similar thoughts where she also was like greatly affected by this message that, yeah, you're going to die someday. So live before you die. And so that's why like receiving that painting really meant a lot to me because it was a reminder that motivated me. And over the years, I kept on this journey of an incredibly strong drive to fulfill the dreams I had, to make the most out of life, and to be confident going through it. But eventually I would burn out. And one of the biggest reasons for that burnout was because of all the pressure I was constantly putting on myself. And then I rested for a while, got back up, got my bearings again, went back to going hard again, and then I burned out a couple years later. All the pressure. And then I rested a bit, got back up, went back out there, and then I burned out again. Now I could remember like at least 3 huge burnouts, but there was like little burnouts around those 3 huge burnouts since then. But it was the pressure. That's definitely one of the things I struggle with is having extremely high expectations of myself. putting that pressure on myself and it giving me this great drive to do positive things, but then at the same time being a source of shame that I give myself and turn into self-loathing for not fulfilling my expectations, for not making the most out of the opportunity that is life. And now I think there's two ways that we could take this message. You're going to die someday, so live. One is this type of way that leads to burnout, this high expectation way, which is like, I'm going to die someday, so let me hurry up and do all the things I wish I can do before I die. But then there's this other way, which was the very first perspective I had when I had that near-death experience, which is you're going to die someday, so be present with the life around you. Like, chill, slow down, breathe, be grateful. Look at the support around you. Look how beautiful life is, period. No matter what you do, no matter what you try to add to it, life on its own is a beautiful gift, a powerful gift. So just be. And it's like, those are it's this fork on the road with this acknowledgement that you're going to die. And one path is, I need to become something else. And the other path is, I need to just be. I need to become versus I need to just be. Because it could create this pressure that we all deal with even stronger, that I need to become the thing I wish I was, or the thing that people expect me to be, or the thing I should be, the thing that society expects of me, the thing that once I get there, then I'll feel worthy. Let me hurry up and get there because I'm going to die someday. Versus, let me get rid of a lot of this mental junk. I don't need to put so much pressure on myself. I need to have grace with myself. I need to just be. Can y'all relate with those two paths in remembrance that you're going to die? I have a friend who a couple years ago had a near-death experience that was way more brutal than mine. He was hiking by himself and he fell off a 40-foot cliff. I think it was 40 feet. It's been a while, and he broke his legs. Bone. I'm not going to get too graphic, I promise, but a bone was sticking out of one of his legs, so he obviously couldn't get up. It was like he landed in this like rock creek area, and he landed on his feet, so that's why it was all messed up. But he was completely alone on a part of the hiking trail that I think like you weren't even supposed to go on, or at least is so dangerous that people have suggested to block it off. I think that's what it was, that people had said before that we should block that off. But he was shouting, crying out for help. There was no service for him to call anyone. And he was out there for like, I think an hour. I wish I remembered the details now, but he was crying out and he thought he was going to die. He even made a last video for his family on his phone. And eventually he was able to get through to 911 after many failed calls through his Apple Watch. Many failed calls. Also, Apple Watch, I guess the new ones have like I never had Apple Watch, but it has a feature where it does little like emergency signal, loud beeping thing. And so he was trying to call 911, kept failing. Eventually he was able to get through and tell him where he was. but they were taking forever. And then eventually a guy heard the signal that was passing by, and he came and made sure he was okay while they're waiting for the ambulance and so, or the helicopter. They had a helicopter him out of there. And so he was safe. And he went to the hospital. And I got a message from his mom that he was in the hospital and what had happened. And me and another friend, it is one of my best friends, and the other friend who went is also one of my best friends. We're all really, really, really close. And I've also known this guy since we were really young. And he's also younger than me. And so it was wild to see. And we went to the hospital. And he looked very different. I mean, just his facial expression, different than I'd ever seen him. And he was very emotional. Also a little bit of ketamine in his system for the pain. And on the verge of tears. And he told us what happened. And he had this video. He said he even made this video. And he said that he wanted to show his dad and his girlfriend, but they refused to see it. And like, I think they heard part of it, of him like screaming in it, and they refused to see it. But he wanted us to see it, and we both said, okay. And it was interesting to see that interaction. Like, he wanted someone to see what had happened and what it looked like and where he was. And we're his friends, so he wanted us to see. And it was heavy, that video and what he said in it. And I mean, he was so emotional, but you could also see in his eyes that he was so thankful to be alive, so thankful to be looking into our eyes. It was like he was awakened to this heightened sense, or this deeper sense of life and the gift of life. And it's like, yeah, I could go at any point. I almost died. This is it. That I'm alive, and I'm so grateful to be here. And you could just read that in his eyes. And then, as we're just standing there and hanging out with him, these two chaplains walk in, the hospital chaplains, and they gave a very typical speech of like, hi, my name is so-and-so, we're the chaplains, and we're here for you, we want you to know. And my friend's just looking at them, very serious, staring at them as they're talking, and they're saying, if you want prayer or you need someone to talk to, we're here for you to talk. We're here to pray with you. Any prayers you would like to do, we're here for you, and that's what we do. And please let us know if you need anything from us. And then they walked out, the two chaplains. Very serious moment. And my friend looks to the side and up at me. And then he just laughs. And he was like, what was that? Now, I feel like this moment is hard to communicate through words. But because it was so much about the feeling of the moment, the presence of it all, his exact face, his exact tone of this very serious moment of these two super holy chaplains coming in and letting him know that they're there for him, and then him turning to me and laughing. And he was like, oh, actually, I remember the actual quote was, what the fuck was that? And I laughed. But that moment was so heavy for me, because all these thoughts just were flying through my mind of like, oh my God, the enlightenment or the awakening or the heightened sense of unity with the universe or with God that so many of these holy people are chasing after. My friend was there. He was just there effortlessly. getting to this state of realizing how beautiful of a gift this life is, and so grateful to be here, and even feeling a type of unity with all things. This experience just shot him straight to that state. And these two holy people walk in, all serious, telling them, we're here for you, to pray with you. God's got you type of feeling. And he just laughed at them. Like, what was that? Oh, and that'll always stick with me. It's that straight experience of God through experience. Or that straight experience of life, the universe, whatever you want to call it. It's powerful. And so I want you all to realize you don't have to have a near-death experience to feel what I'm talking about. I know plenty of you out there probably have had experiences and stories just like this, or stories about the people you know just like this, and you know what I'm talking about. But trust me, you do not need a near-death experience. You do not need any this big of a danger in your life to get there. Please understand. There's other ways to cultivate this feeling. And so I encourage all of you, my friends, to look for that feeling within yourself this Lent. And since it is Lent, the obvious question is, what should I give up? Now, that's a whole other conversation of like the value of fasting from certain things during a season like this. And if you're celebrating Lent, y'all do you. If you're not celebrating Lent, y'all do you. But in the spirit of giving up things, I encourage you during this season, why don't you try just giving up who you're trying to become? Give up trying to become that other person that you think will make you worthy, that you think will get you value and recognition and success and love. I know everybody has that version of themselves in their head that they're trying to change into and wishing that they could be, or at least wishing other people would see them as that. This season, give that up. Just for a season at least. Give up trying to become someone else. And in this season, practice learning how to simply just be. Be who you are and sit with it. If it's uncomfortable, don't worry, it's just for a season. But maybe by the end of this season, you realize, oh, wait, no, this is actually a better way to live. I like this better. And of course, we still have goals and responsibilities to ourselves, to our work, to our loved ones. Of course. I'm not saying give up thinking about the future ever. I'm not saying to give up on your responsibilities. But make it more about the work. Like, what do I need to do? Okay, let's think about that. Instead of ruminating on who will that make me look like? What I want to be another person that does this kind of work. Instead, it'd be like, okay, yeah, I have my responsibilities. I have the things I do every day. Let me just do the things and not care so much about how it makes me look. Not care so much about not being who I wish I was. That's what I'm talking about. So that's what I encourage you to do this Lent. We're going to keep on this theme of Lent. We're going to go in a bunch of different directions with it. I got a little list here. We're going to talk about doubt. We got to talk about doubt, especially how it relates to faith and doesn't contradict faith. We're going to talk about humility and how people get fake humble sometimes and how we could deal with that. We're going to go deep and talk about like chaos and the wilderness of life, because it's 40 days. Lent is 40 days because Jesus was in the wilderness for 40 days, And so anyway, and there's a couple more that I think are going to be really exciting. Stay tuned. And for those who don't know, we just started, I should have said this at the beginning, but don't tune out now. This is the most important part, I promise. Let me say this last final thing and then we'll go. We just started the Patreon bonus episodes. So every month now we're going to be doing bonus episodes of Perhaps just on the Patreon, starting at $5 a month. You can get on there for $1 a month, but if you want to watch the bonus episodes, start at $5 a month. That's all. And I plan on dropping some more interesting stuff on the Patreon, but right now, if you would like to support this show, go there. That's a really easy way to do it. And watch the bonus episodes. Right now, there's only one, but we're going to keep going. I have some planned. Thank you for watching. You're going to die someday. I promise.